Good morning. Unabii Dunia tarehe 25 mwezi wa 9 mwaka 2018. Nabii alitoa unabii katika nchi za Afrika. Changamoto ya kiuchumi, upungufu wa chakula na mazao. Amen.
Has the world ignored South Sudan? The country is facing extreme hunger, and aid agencies are warning of dire consequences if violence carries on. So what can be done to save Africa's youngest country? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Hashim Ahalbarra. Humanitarian groups are warning 60% of South Sudan's population will face catastrophic famine by the middle of next year. That's if aid can't reach areas affected by floods, violence, and the pandemic. A joint report by 3 UN agencies says 6.5 million people in the region are facing starvation, and that number could rise by almost 1 million by July. Aid agencies blame the worsening situation on violence that's made it impossible to produce food and dangerous and difficult to deliver aid. Last month, the UN released $7 million in emergency funding to try to avert famine. The country is still struggling to emerge from a 6-year civil war that killed tens of thousands of people. We'll bring in our guests shortly, but first, let's take a look at the history of Africa's youngest country. In July 2011, South Sudan gained independence from Sudan, but war broke out 2 years later when President Salva Kiir accused his former deputy and former rebel leader Riek Machar of plotting a coup. The fighting killed about 400,000 people and displaced millions. Ceasefire was signed in January 2014, but was violated several times, and further talks failed to end the violence. In September 2018, Kiir agreed to set up a unity government with Machar, but that was delayed as they tried to resolve outstanding disputes. In February, the pair finally formed a unity government, declared an end to the civil war. Joining me now are our guests in Juba. Matthew Hollingworth, South Sudan Country Director for the World Food Programme. In Oxford, Douglas Johnson, former member of the Abyei Boundary Commission and author of South Sudan, A New History for a New Nation. Also in Juba, Jeffrey Duke, Security Analyst and Director of the South Sudan Action Network on Small Arms. Welcome to you all. Matthew.
Disaster. When you add to that this year's economic collapse, which is also largely due to COVID-19, the impact of that, but also diminishing oil reserves or oil resources, and you've got a recipe for a food security disaster in South Sudan.
Douglas, you have climate change, you have violence, you have instability, and this is a grim reminder for a nation that about 9 years ago was raising hopes among the international community that it could become a vibrant new democracy in the African continent. What do you think has been completely wrong with this nation?
A long-term goal, because we need, South Sudan needs an army that reflects its diversity and that, can be disciplined and etc. But the problem here is that the parties tend to use, the issue of, graduating the necessary unified force as a prerequisite for progress in implementation of the peace agreement. Even issues that does not require the necessary unified